For years later.
Talia.
Good morning, Mrs. Johnson. I greeted as I went to her stall. What kind of fish are you selling today? Oh, how ya doin' there, Talia? You came early today. I've got some milkfish for ya. Yeah. It's Grandpa Fairy's birthday today. I wanted to cook some of his favorite food, and luckily, you have just the item I'm looking for. Give me 3 kilograms. You got it, she smiled, packing the fish before handing me the bag. I added some extra for ya, she said, smiling. You're the best, I said, waving my hand goodbye before moving to the next stall. Talia, I baked your favorite bread. Come and take some for you and Lucille. I turned around to the voice calling me and saw Boris, the neighborhood's very talented baker, calling me over to his shop. I looked at the honey croissants on display and smiled in delight. Lucille's going to love this, I said, already imagining her reaction. I'll buy 5. He shook his head as he packed the croissants. There's no need for that. I'm giving this a gift for the little one. I clicked my tongue. You never let me buy anything from you. That's because you're precious, he said. And your daughter is precious too. She reminds me of my granddaughter who's living in the city. I make quite a lot of money anyways, so just take it. I sighed and gratefully took the croissant from his hands. This'll be the last time that you'll be doing this, all right? Yeah, he waved me off. I chuckled and bid him goodbye. I knew that it wouldn't be the last time he'll be giving me bread for free. We've already had this conversation plenty of times before, and it always turned out the same. He'll still give me fresh bread for free anyways. I took one of the honey croissants out and took a bite as I walked back home. I almost moaned in delight because of the delicious taste. Boris is definitely the best baker I've met in my entire life. I took in a deep breath and loved how the air smelled so fresh. I was surrounded by greens and small houses, and there's nothing more that I could ask for.
Sometime later.
I'm home. I heard some cute footsteps running to where I was, so I turned to the direction of Lucille's room and smiled. Mommy, she exclaimed, urging for me to hug her. My baby, I smiled. Wait a minute, okay? Mommy's just going to place these on top of the counter. She nodded her head and patiently waited for me. She followed me to the kitchen and tapped my thigh when she saw that I was done. I chuckled and lifted her up in my arms. How are you? How's your sleep? I asked, removing the stray pieces of hair away from her chubby cheeks. I'm good, Mommy. Fairy gave me juice. I shook my head in amusement. I told you many times to call him Grandpa Fairy, I said in a joking voice. But he said he likes the name Fairy. I chuckled. All right. Do whatever makes the two of you happy. Now, I said, bringing her down to the ground. I'm going to prepare breakfast, all right? Help Grandpa Fairy out of his room and bring him here. I brought your favorite croissants. Her eyes widened in delight. Honey? Honey, I nodded my head. With that, she bolted out of the kitchen and to Mr. Fairy's room. I, on the other hand, brought out the honey croissants that Mr. Boris gave and the porridge that I bought for Grandpa Fairy. I placed it on a bowl and put it in his usual place. You're home? I heard an old yet kind voice say. I smiled when I saw Lucille holding Mr. Fairy's hand. Yeah. I decided to go to the market a little earlier today. I'm making that fish dish that you've been craving since it's your birthday. He smiled, his eyes crinkling. You didn't have to do that. I smiled. It's the least that I can do for letting me stay here without any problems. He sighed as he sat down on one of the chairs. It's been 4 years, Talia. You don't have to thank me every day. Thank you for letting us stay here, I stubbornly said. He chuckled and shook his head. Let's eat. The 3 of us ate in comfortable silence, that is, until Mr. Fairy spoke up. I'm thinking, there's actually something that I want for my birthday. I stopped chewing mid-bite and looked at him with wide eyes. This is the first time that Mr. Ferry had asked for something in all the 4 years that I've lived here, so it's quite surprising. "What is it?" I asked. He pursed his lips together and hesitated to speak. "Actually, it's probably not a good idea." "No, go ahead," I urged him. "Whatever it is, I'm definitely going to give it to you." "Really?" he asked with hopeful eyes. I nodded my head. "Yes." "So, what is it?" He smiled and leaned against the table. "Can you join the province's annual pageant?" "What?"
Sometime later. Luciano.
"You smell like alcohol and sex," Daisy said, looking at me with a disapproving look. I raised one eyebrow and closed the door of my office. "Maybe because I've just been to the club," I said in an obvious tone. "Again?" she exclaimed. "Didn't you go last week too? And the week before that?" "Exactly," I said, plopping down on my seat. "That was last week." She sighed and shook her head. "You're going to get the Cosa Nostra in trouble one of these days." "You know damn well that I'm good at my job," I smirked at her, ignoring my raging hangover and getting straight to work. She shook her head and went to get me some coffee. Ever since Talia left the Cosa Nostra 4 years ago, Daisy has been assigned to be my guard. She refused at first, but she really didn't have a choice in the end. It has also been 4 years since I've been looking for Talia. I stopped looking when we still haven't found her after 2 years, but there's still a part of my mind that longs for her from time to time. Maybe that's the reason why I fill the void in my heart with a plethora of distractions. "Here," Daisy said, harshly placing the cup of coffee on the table, some of the hot coffee spilling on my table. "Hey," I said. "Be careful." She rolled her eyes. "You better be thankful that I didn't spill this on your lap. You really need to be reprimanded more." "Need I remind you that I'm your boss?" I asked. "Whatever. You know damn well that I'm doing this out of concern. The other Piol couldn't give one shit about your well-being, so just know that I'm doing this for your betterment and the betterment of the Cosa Nostra." "Your nagging wouldn't trigger me to change my ways," I stubbornly said. "I hope you don't meddle with my personal life from now on and just act like what you're supposed to be, a guard." She looked at me in disbelief and shook her head. "You know what?" she said, her nostrils flaring. "I'm happy that Talia left you." With that, she left the room and slammed my door shut. I threw my head back in frustration and bit my lip to suppress the scream that was bubbling in my throat. "Fuck," I muttered under my breath. "I miss you."
Talia.
For years ago, when I escaped from the Luciano clan, I ended up coming here, Amari Coast. Contrary to its name, it has nothing to do with beaches and sunshine. Instead, it's a foggy and mountainous place where agriculture and sheep tending are the most common livelihood. On my first day here, I was immediately hit by a small truck. Fortunately, it didn't cause any damage to Lucille and me. I think I was actually quite lucky being hit by that truck. If it weren't for that occurrence, then I wouldn't have met Mr. and Mrs. Ferry. Mr. and Mrs. Ferry took me into their home without any questions. I just told them that I didn't have any place to stay, and they instantly gave me a room in their house. Mrs. Ferry was also the one who took care of me all throughout my pregnancy. Unfortunately, Mrs. Ferry passed away due to ovarian cancer when Lucille turned 1. From then on, it has only been Mr. Ferry and us. I always feel thankful for Mr. and Mrs. Ferry, so I just can't bring myself to refuse the old man of his request, no matter how ridiculous it is. The festival is fast approaching, and you know that the young ladies in the province always participate in the pageant. Don't you want to join too? He said in such a sweet voice that it made it even harder to refuse his request. How did you come up with that suggestion? I couldn't help but ask. He started playing with his food like a little kid. I don't know, he shrugged his shoulders. It's just that, I went to my good friend's place the other day, and he's been boasting about his granddaughter joining the pageant. He told me that I should have looked for another wife back in the day, not a barren one like Julia, he said, looking down at the table. Then, I would also have a granddaughter like him. My eyes softened as I looked at him. He's not your friend, then? I told him. A good friend wouldn't say those words. Do you want to join? He asked. You don't have to if you don't want to. I just really wanted to show him that even if Julia and I never had any children, I have a granddaughter. He smiled at me. I pursed my lips together. How can I refuse him when he says it like that? Fine, I caved in. His back straightened, and he looked at me with sparkling eyes. You'll join? I nodded my head and sighed. I'll join.
Sometime later.
Mommy is the prettiest! Lucille exclaimed when she saw me backstage. It was currently the night of the pageant, and I still couldn't believe that I was doing any of this. You're right, Mr. Ferry agreed. You shine the most out of all these girls, he said in such a loud voice that the other contestants threw us dirty looks. Grandpa, I told him. Tone it down. He shrugged his shoulders and looked around the room. What? I'm just telling the truth. I sighed and shook my head. What are you two doing here anyway? The show's about to start. Lucille wanted to see you before the start of the show. I smiled and carried Lucille in my arms. Remember? This is the dress you've picked out, I said, smoothing out the skirt of the pretty red dress that she helped me choose. I chose the right dress, Mommy, she said. You look so pretty. Not as pretty as you, I kissed her nose. Now, go. It's going to be hectic in here when the show starts. Just then, a couple of cameras came into the room and started filming the other contestants. My eyes widened in surprise. There's going to be cameras filming this event? I asked in a hushed voice. Mr. Ferry nodded his head. Well, of course. It'll be televised on the local station. What? I asked. Why didn't you tell me this? He looked so confused. Well, I didn't think it would matter. Besides, isn't that a good thing? Your beauty will be broadcasted all throughout the entire town. I'm going to boast to my other friends that you're my granddaughter, he excitedly said. I massaged the bridge of my nose. Where is this going to be televised? Just around this area, he said, making me sigh in relief. Unless, he added, making me become wary once again. Someone opted to get the complete subscription of all the local channels in Italy. I was getting anxious by the minute. I'm even considering backing out from the show to hide my identity. However, before I could even do that, the camera panned toward where I was. We're recording live, I heard the MC say, so I knew that I was fucked. I had no choice but to put a smile on my face and wave the camera. To hell with it. Let's just get this over with. There's no way that the people in the Cosa Nostra would be seeing this, right?
Sometime later. Luciano.
I sighed out of boredom as I looked out of the window. Today was the weekend, and I was supposed to go to the club as part of my weekly routine, but Daisy has banned me from going this week. She practically locked me in my office, and now I can't get out. Let's see, I said, peering outside of the window. If I jump out from here, I'm not going to die. But I'm definitely going to incur a few serious injuries. I don't even think I can go to the club if I jump out of here right now. Heck, I don't think I'll be able to walk if I escape through this window. I went to the door and inspected the lock. It was open, but it seemed like Daisy placed a couple of chains with a lock outside, so I couldn't get out. I can consider just breaking down the door, but I don't want to go through all that trouble. We'll stay in the room, I guess, I muttered under my breath, walking over to my office chair and retrieving the TV remote. I turned on the TV and started scrolling through the different channels. There were more than 100 channels on this TV since my men bought a complete subscription for all channels in this particular house. I sighed in frustration as I went through the different channels. More than 100 channels came from different parts of Italy, and none of them even captured my attention. I was already on the 100th channel, mindlessly scrolling when something caught my attention. This channel was quite different from the other channels. It displayed a rural background, and they seemed to be conducting a pageant of some sort. What caught my eye was the fact that it looked so low budget. I even wonder how the cable network approved this channel. I scoffed and shook my head, about to turn off the television, when a familiar face suddenly appeared on the screen. My hand froze midair, and my back straightened unconsciously. My mouth went agape, and I couldn't take my eyes away from the screen. Is that Talia?
Luciano.
My back straightened, and my eyes automatically zoomed in on the beautiful woman on the stage. The quality of the production was shitty as fuck, but it didn't take away any of her beauty. She still shined amidst the pixelated screen. It seemed like she had reached the final two, and it was now time to give the crown to the winner. My heart started beating faster and faster, and I honestly couldn't hear any of the words that the host was saying at the moment. All I know is that the woman I've been looking for the past 4 years is finally in front of my eyes, in virtual form, that is. She's still as beautiful as ever. No, she looks even more beautiful now, if that was even possible. It made my heart ache just seeing her, and I remembered the days when the two of us lost touch. Things escalated quickly, and the next thing I knew, a crown was placed on top of Talia's head. I didn't hear the announcement, but it seems like she has won. I couldn't help but smile in satisfaction. I didn't watch the entire thing, but I knew that she deserved it. I wandered my eyes around the television until it landed on the station name. Amari Coast, I muttered under my breath. I quickly brought out my phone and searched for the place. It was 5 hours away from the city, so it was not too bad. Just as I was about to stand up from my seat, the door opened, and Daisy peeked inside the room.
Wow,
she said. I'm surprised to see that you didn't escape.
Book me a plane ticket to Amari Coast.
I told her right off the bat. She frowned, confused by my sudden request. Amari Coast? The province at the very border of the country? I nodded my head. Book me a flight to get there.
What are you talking about?
She asked. We don't have any business to be done at Amari Coast. And aside from that, there's no landing area on Amari Coast. You have to go there by bus. I clicked my tongue. I haven't ridden the bus in so long, but I'm willing to do anything for Talia. I don't care, I said. Just get me some kind of transportation to get there as soon as possible. You can just drive, she suggested. But still, what are you going to be doing there? Right, I muttered under my breath. Drive, why didn't I think about that? Quick, hand me my keys, I said, going out of the room. However, Daisy held out her arms and covered the door. This is so confusing. Can you tell me why you want to go to Amari Coast all of a sudden? I didn't bother explaining anything and just pointed at the TV, where Talia was seen making her final speech. Her mouth went ajar, and her eyes turned into saucers. Talia, she muttered under her breath. She then closed her eyes and shook her head. You're not hallucinating, I told her. That's really Talia. But H, how? I mean, why? W, why is she there? She stuttered. Beats me, I shrugged my shoulders. But one thing's for sure, I'm going to go to her. Her surprised look suddenly turned serious, and she held onto my wrist with an iron grip.
Let go,
I said. You're not going to her, she said. I sighed and massaged the bridge of my nose with my free hand. What are you talking about? I've literally been searching for her for the last 4 years, and you're stopping me just as I finally found her? And who might be the reason for her departure? She asked, looking me deep in the eyes. You're the reason why she was hurting. You're the reason why she left. She finally has a life for herself.
Can't you see how happy she looks?
She pointed to the television. The two of us turned to the TV and saw Talia with a wide smile on her face. I suddenly felt even more guilt in my heart. She waved her hand, appearing to be waving at someone from the audience. Then, the camera panned to the person to whom she was waving at. A feeling of dread erupted in my heart, and for a second, I thought that it would be her lover from the audience. However, it wasn't any of that sort. Instead, the screen showed a sweet-looking old man enthusiastically waving at the camera with a smile on his face. And in his arms, is a child that looked exactly like me.
Holy shit!
Daisy exclaimed. Holy shit, indeed.
Sometime later. Talia.
Grandpa Fairy grumbled in satisfaction as he opened the paper for today. Look at this, he said, flipping through the pages. You have a full-page spread on this week's paper. Can't you believe that? I chuckled and shook my head. It seems like you enjoy my victory more than me, I told him. Well, of course, he exclaimed. You are my granddaughter. And you made it on the front page. I can't wait to go to my friend's house and show them just how awesome my granddaughter is. I smiled in amusement as I continued making lunch. As much as I act like I don't appreciate how Grandpa Fairy boasts about me, deep inside my heart, I'm really touched. From when I was a young child, I never experienced anyone being proud of who I am. And hearing praise from Grandpa Fairy each day just feels kind of foreign, I guess. However, I'm not complaining. I'll take his repetitive praises over my father's indifference and my brother's harshness any day. Mommy's so pretty, Lucille said, looking at my picture in awe. Am I pretty like Mommy? Of course, you are, I said. Grandpa Fairy hummed in agreement. The two of you are very pretty, he then looked at both of our faces, making me confused. But, he stroked his chin. But what? I asked, confused. I haven't noticed this before, but you and Lucille look nothing alike, don't you? She must take after her father. Grandpa Fairy! I exclaimed, looking at him with warning eyes. Father? Lucille said, confused. I closed my eyes and let out a tired sigh. Oh, sorry, Grandpa Fairy chuckled. I forgot that we should never mention you-know-who. He turned towards Lucille and ruffled her hair. You look exactly like your mother. He lied. Very pretty. Fortunately, Lucille quickly forgot about the slip-up and continued looking at the paper with awe. Just then, the doorbell sounded, so I wiped my hands on the apron. Are you expecting anyone today, Grandpa? I asked. He frowned, taking a sip from his coffee and shaking his head. Not that I know of. As far as I remember, my friends and I agreed on seeing each other tomorrow. Then, who might it be? I muttered under my breath. Can you watch the soup for me? I asked. I'll just get the door. He nodded his head and stood up from his seat. No problem. I walked towards the door, and the person started ringing the doorbell endlessly. Wait a minute, will you? I exclaimed, unlocking the door and finally opening it to see who it was. Impatient, are we? I chuckled as I opened the door. You're here. I heard a familiar voice say, a voice I hadn't heard in more than 4 years. I froze, my gaze still focused on the person's chest. Then, I slowly trailed my eyes from his toned chest and up to his face. My breath got caught in the back of my throat. Luciano.